Hey guys, what is up? This is MZ here. Today we are talking about my final track within my EP called Underestimated Augmented Reality. This track is, I would call it a sort of parody, a parody track, a parody dance track, because obviously I sample Theresa May's famous Wheatfield confession. And that's something I just thought would be absolutely hilarious to add within my track. So yeah, let's start off with the sample I used within this track. So the sample I used was from Larry Carlton's "You Gotta Get It While You Can." So when I first was looking for samples to use, I'd never actually heard this track before, but I knew that Steely Dan worked with Larry Carlton quite a lot. So I started looking through his discography and finding out different songs, or looking what samples I could take. So when I first started listening to this song, I knew instantly at the start of his track that it would be a perfect loop, like honestly a perfect loop for my track. So let me just play it to you. So same principle goes. I basically found the track, basically loaded it into Audacity. I find, making loops and chopping loops up in Audacity far easier than in Reason, because in Reason, like, you can't really zoom in that well to see where the sample ends and starts, etc. So, and Audacity has a lot of zooming finders where you can see like what points, or if there's anything clipping at the end of your sample, you can basically change that. So yeah, this sample was literally perfect for this track. Very funky, very disco orientated. So yeah, I thought that was brilliant. At the start of my track, I actually have a filter using the LPF frequency to basically give this like a open filter to start my track. This is obviously sort of different to the rest of my tracks because none of that happens in. But I actually took inspiration from another track that I was listening to for this like filtered opening, and actually for the whole like basis of this track. And this track that I took inspiration from is called Groovin' by Flamingosis and Young Bay. So yeah, let's listen to a little bit of that.
I held you in my arms till the light came up. Do you remember that? Do you remember that song?
Yeah, I
that
do.
song, because I still sing that song. I first heard it from you. That was the first time. Remember?
I'm through with love. I'll never fall again.
that's a little snippet of that track by Flamingos. It's called Groovin'. So yeah, I took a lot of inspiration from this track, even though it's not in the same genre as what I'm making. Disco and house are very similar in terms of drums and bass and you know, the same sort of elements that allow us to create house music. So yeah, I definitely took inspiration from that track. So I'm just going to play a little bit of this track to you, and then we'll get into the processes.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did? Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose that... Gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure. There must have been a moment. Nobody's ever perfect behaved, are they? I mean, you know, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too pleased with that. The farmers weren't too pleased with that. The farmers weren't too pleased with that.
So yeah, that's basically like the start of my track that I wanted to just quickly show you. So as you can see, when I get to, if I just zoom in, when I get to this bar here, I sort of cut the sample in half, because I then added in, like, I guess I can call it a sample fill, where I literally just play the keys like down, down the keyboard. So if I go to that real quick, I can show you my sampler. So I basically just imported the same loop into this sampler here, and then basically, yeah, just played it in on my MIDI keyboard. So you can just play literally just anything, you know, down the keyboard. So that's basically what I wanted, was you know, something to just mix up the track a little bit, and obviously taking inspiration from this sort of breakdown bit here. If I just go to it. Even though it's not the same sort of breakdown, I still took like inspiration from it. And then yeah, and then basically my track then comes into this sort of verse here. So if I just play that for you. So yeah, the same sort of loop still plays through this verse, but then when we get to this bar here, we can see that basically the sample changes up, and that's through using, again, the triple filtered gate. Obviously, the gate has been one of my, the gate has been one of my most used effects through this whole EP process. But that was the sound I was looking for, distorted and just like remixed sounds and how they were being processed, and obviously changing like the LFO frequency, resonance and envelope to justify those sounds, because I mean, if I were just to play the whole loop throughout the song, again, it would get boring. So yeah, and then if I get to this part here, I can show you again that the sample then changes up again, using the triple filtered gate alligator again. So yeah, let's play that. So yeah, so I basically layer this part here because I still wanted to keep the low end of the sample, like the bass, still relevant within my track, because this one here was taking too much out, which I didn't want. So yeah, that's basically that part. We also obviously with the whole Theresa May sample. That's the same process pretty much. I basically cut it up. I actually cut this one up in Reason, this sample, and then time stretched it, to allow myself to get it to the correct BPM, which is 124. If I just solo this, sample of her speaking, and I can show you some of the processes I've done.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did? Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose that... Gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
There must have been a moment.
Nobody's ever perfectly behaved, are they? I mean, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat,
So yeah, so I'm using quite a lot of automation here. So I've got my side chain on, and I've also got a level because I realised that this part here sort of ducked underneath the mix, and you couldn't actually hear what she was saying. And then I've also got this pan here, which basically goes from left to right. So if I show you on my mixer what this is doing.
what's the naughtiest thing
So
you ever
here.
did? Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose that... Gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
There must have been a moment.
Nobody's ever perfectly behaved, are they? I mean, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat,
And yeah, I've also got echo on this one as well to just, break through my mix and, basically make her sample, shine through my song. I also use like this device here to create a high pass for this, because I felt that, I wanted to sort of like radio sort of like high pass sound to it, and obviously like if without that it would just sound like exactly the same before. So this whole project is to change sounds with different effects and to see the processes through them, and to see like how we can actually do that. So if I bypass that.
what's the naughtiest thing you ever did? Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose that... Gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
There must have.
So yeah, I was looking for a sort of, high passed like radio sort of sound for that. Let me just do that with my track so you can see everything. And then like throughout my track, I actually used Theresa May's Wheatfield sample quite a lot in my track, more than you actually expect. This part here is a sort of like acid house, like sort of lead, I guess I can say. If I solo this, you can understand what I mean by that. So basically I just chopped, as you can see, I started already chopping up this sample, and then I basically just kept layering and layering, and then I added like this cool acidifying effect from the synchronous, which basically just added all these like, sort of little effects that go from like left to right in your headphones. So yeah, that was cool, but I actually didn't realise that I was going to use this sample more than once, and it does. The original sample does go throughout my song, but reusing this sample has shown that, the possibilities of technology and like what you can do with it changing vocals or spoken word to actual instruments is really interesting, and something that I have loved learning about through my EP project. So yeah, if I just play it to you without this going on. Sorry, let me just change that. Bypass. I've also got a bypass this one here.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose the... gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
Well, there must have been a moment.
Nobody's ever perfectly behaved, are they? I mean, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too...
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose the... gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
Well, there must have been a moment.
Nobody's ever perfect.
Sorry about that. I forgot to solo these. Let me just do that real quick. Solo.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did? What's the naughtiest thing you ever did?
Are they? I mean, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too pleased. I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose the... gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
Well, there must have been a moment.
Nobody...
So yeah, just reusing samples in my track, for either melodies or just like acid, effects on my track have been really cool. I didn't actually ever think of actually reusing a sample for, a spoken word or a vocal sample for actually a melody or a sort of key part of my track, which has been really interesting to learn about. If I move on to my bass, so actually at the start of this track you can hear there's already bass within the sample, but when I start putting it through the gate processes and the synchronous, it actually loses its fundamentals. It loses its bass. You don't have that low end anymore. I was actually struggling to come up with a bass line for this track. So if I just show you that real quick. Sorry, give me 2 seconds. Let me just... there we go, that's better. Right, let me just solo these. So as you can hear, there's already bass like within this sample, but when it got to especially these parts, like the first gate, or even like this part especially, you can hear that there's, the loop loses its bass fundamentals. You can still hear some of the bass, in there, but it wasn't, the house track, you don't just want to hear bass every now and again. Bass actually drives the track within house music. So this bass line here, where did it go? Here it is. So if I solo this. So as you can see here, I only played 2 keys within this, but then I also used where is it gone? So yeah, so I used these devices within Reason that can basically so the dual arpeggio allows you to arpeggiate your either like lead or bass or anything. So in this case, I did it with my bass, and I also used the scales and chord device to play in the key of my track. As I said, I was I was finding it hard to find a bass that would suit this track, and not overcomplicate things. I also, with the bass, if I just find it here, I've also got some stereo imager and compressor on the bass. So stereo imager basically, you know, it's a dual band processor, basically can make your track wider, in essence. So in this case, I wanted my bass line wider within my track. And also the compressor. For anyone who doesn't know what a compressor is, compressor basically takes the loudest sounds and the lowest volume sounds and basically compresses them together, you know, to showcase. Let me just repeat that again. Sorry. So basically, the compressor basically takes the lowest volume and the highest volume and basically compresses them together, and then you can use the ratio and the threshold and the attack and release to change the properties of what the compressor can do. So yeah, that was really interesting, using that, and obviously the bass I used as a preset in Europa called Beefy Bass, and I also changed some of the sources like the LFO, and yeah, just changed those slightly to give my sound different properties. But yeah, that's pretty much it that I want to talk about in this video. If you do have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me, leave a comment on YouTube, and yeah, thanks for watching. Take care.